In the world of AI, the numbers are getting so big they almost start to sound fake. But today, we're going to look at one single, absolutely colossal deal that really puts this high-stakes arms race for AI supremacy into perspective. Okay, let's get into it. $38 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the price tag at the very heart of our story today. It's for a 7-year partnership between OpenAI and Amazon Web Services. And a figure like that, well, it doesn't just buy you a few servers. It's a massive bet to try and shape the entire future of technology. And boy, did the market notice. Headlines like this one popped up everywhere, framing this deal not just as a huge purchase, but as a brilliant strategic move for Amazon. It basically catapulted them right to the front of the line in the AI infrastructure game. In fact, Amazon shares jumped about 5% right after the news broke. But this all leads to the one crucial question that we're going to unpack here. What in the world does $38 billion actually buy you in AI? And why is the price of just staying competitive so unbelievably astronomical? To answer that, we've got to look under the hood. So let's break down the actual tech, the hardware, and the ambition that all this money is actually funding. Okay, so what's really crucial to understand is that this isn't just your standard server order. We are talking about a gigantic network of the most advanced computer chips on the entire planet, all woven together with incredibly fast connections. This isn't just about getting more power. It's about building something at a scale that's being designed for something completely new. And that something new has a name: agentic AI. This is really the next frontier. We're not just talking about asking a chatbot a simple question anymore. Agentic AI is all about systems that can take a complex goal, figure out the steps to achieve it, and then actually go and do those steps on its own. So think of an AI that doesn't just write a report for you, but it also does the research, builds the charts, and then emails it to all the right people, all without you lifting a finger. That, that takes a whole different universe of computing power. And this really gets at the two sides of the AI coin. On one side, you've got training. That's where these huge models learn by chewing through unimaginable amounts of data. That's what all this hardware is for. And then on the other side, you've got inference, which is when the model actually uses all that training to perform tasks and power the kinds of complex, world-changing apps we're all dreaming about. Now, a deal this big, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It's a huge move in a much, much larger fight: the constant battle for supremacy between the world's biggest cloud companies. So let's take a look at the battlefield. For years, Amazon's AWS has been the undisputed king of the cloud, holding about a third of the market. But you can see Microsoft's Azure has been closing that gap at a wild pace, mostly by leveraging its massive base of enterprise customers. This OpenAI deal, then, is a really strategic play by AWS to strengthen its position in the hottest new area, AI. And this really breaks down their different game plans. AWS has historically won by being super flexible and startup-friendly. Azure, on the other hand, plays to its biggest strength: its deep, deep integration with the whole Microsoft world. We're talking Office 365, Windows Server, all of it. This makes Azure a no-brainer for big companies already in that ecosystem. The fact that OpenAI is now also heavily investing in AWS, well, it shows they're playing on both fields. And that is a super critical point to get. This is not OpenAI dumping Microsoft for Amazon. Not even close. They are still committed to spending an absolutely mind-boggling amount on Azure. The reports say over $250 billion. So what this really signals is a multi-cloud strategy. I mean, think about it. When your entire mission is to train the world's most advanced AI, you just can't afford to be dependent on a single company. This is about spreading the risk at a massive, massive scale. But here's the thing. Whether a company is running on AWS or Azure, there's one name that sits underneath it all, the true kingmaker in this whole AI arms race. And that is NVIDIA. I mean, just look at this chart. A 92% market share in data center GPUs. That is a near total monopoly. And it's not just because their chips are powerful, it's because of their software, CUDA, which is the undisputed industry standard. This dominance makes them the ultimate power broker. You simply cannot build world-class AI today without them. And you can bet this dependency creates a massive headache for the entire industry. As this headline suggests, literally everyone is desperately scrambling to break the dependency chain on NVIDIA. The demand is just so high, and the supply is so tightly controlled that it's become a huge bottleneck for everyone's growth. So what happens? A new race begins. the race to build a viable alternative. You've got Microsoft developing its own in-house chip, the Maya 100. And then you have these really cool startups like Cerebras with its absolutely massive wafer-scale chips, and Grok, which is focused on ultra-fast inference processors. They're all gunning for a piece of NVIDIA's crown. Okay, so all of this incredible spending, this intense dependency, this frantic competition, it all leads to a really fascinating economic question. Where is all this money actually going? And is this boom sustainable? I love this quote from Steve Sosnick. It perfectly captures the vibe in the market right now. For more than a decade, investors have basically been trained, like Pavlov's dogs, to just pour money into tech because it's always been rewarded. So now there's this Pavlovian response to AI. The bell rings, the money flows in, sometimes without a second thought about the underlying mechanics. And this has led to this bizarre phenomenon some people are calling the AI money go-round. Here's how it works. A cloud giant, say Amazon, invests billions into a hot new AI company like Anthropic. Then, that AI company immediately turns around and spends a huge chunk of that investment on, you guessed it, cloud computing services from Amazon. The money literally just goes out one door and comes right back in through another. A brilliant analogy from Reddit explains this perfectly. Imagine three guys in a bar. One of them buys 3 beers. Then they just pass those same 3 beers around to each other all night. If you're an outsider just counting transactions, it looks like a ton of beer is being bought and sold. But in reality, it's the same initial cash just circling around inside a closed system, making the whole thing look way bigger and more active than it actually is. So, with all this capital, all this brain power focused on one single goal, where does it all lead? What does the next phase of this incredible arms race even look like? Well, it looks like we're seeing 3 key frontiers taking shape. First is the big move to in-house silicon, with giants like Microsoft creating their own chips to control their own destiny. Second is the relentless push for even bigger, more powerful models, like the hugely anticipated GPT-5. And then, finally, there's the long game, quantum computing, a technology that could one day make today's supercomputers look like a pocket calculator. Which brings us right to our final massive question. When you look at this unprecedented spending, the weird circular flow of capital, and the insane technological leaps being made, you have to wonder, are we witnessing the trillion-dollar construction of humanity's next great technological age? Or are we just watching the inflation of the next great economic bubble? The fascinating and maybe scary answer is it could very well be both at the exact same time.